People, this is really a sickening story out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Peace, family. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. This article comes from News Channel 11, an ABC affiliate in Raleigh, North Carolina. It says, quote, joke was on me. Raleigh mom tells story of police pointing rifles at a 6-year-old son and calls for increase in police accountability. You know, we just talk about this story when police officers is targeting our black children, and this is a perfect example of it. He's autistic. He's sick. He's 6 years old, and you gonna try to basically point a rifle at a 6-year-old kid, 6-year-old black kid on top of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read this article, and then I'm gonna try to see if I can play this video, which of course you will not see the video, but you will hear the audio of this story. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this. It says, a Raleigh woman called for changes to the Raleigh Police Department during the city council meeting on Tuesday. LaDonna Clark stood up in front of city leaders and called for more accountability in the police department. She retold a story that happened to her family in November. She said, my senior citizen parents, as well as my 6-year-old son with autism and cerebral palsy, experienced the most terrorizing experience of their lives, Clark said. On a 35th degree and rainy night, my son with autism was forced out of the home with military-style rifles aimed at him and made to sit on the cold, wet ground for over an hour by RPD SWAT. I'm going to stop you right there until, more stories coming up on reaction.cam. You get this, people. Raleigh Police Department, forced a 6-year-old child on a 35-degree weather at a rainy night, was forced out of a home with SWAT teams, military-style rifles at the 6-year-old boy. Really. And I'm going to continue. And this is the reporter who reported the story. Her name is Elena Athens. This is her Twitter. She said a Raleigh mom gives a lashing to Raleigh City Council. She said RPD threatened her 6-year-old autistic son with an assault rifle during a raid at her home when officers were searching for her cousin. He was subsequently arrested in another location. But look what this mother is going through. I'm gonna stop you right there. Look what the mother is going through, dealing with this whole ordeal with police officers pointing a rifle at her 6-year-old autistic and cerebral palsy son. Look what's going on. This reminds you of what happened in Michigan a couple of years ago when SWAT teams went into a wrong house, killed a 6 or 7-year-old girl. I forgot her name. If you know her name, leave her name in the description box. But killed the little girl, and then when they realized, they turned on the light, they realized that they killed that little girl. This is what to remind you of, right there. So I'm continue to read. She said, Clark said when she learned of what happened, she filed a complaint and requested video from the event so she could see for herself what happened. However, the joke was on me because not only was I not allowed to see the footage of my son being terrorized, I was told by Sergeant Neville that I could not get an IA number. An IA stands for Internal Affairs. And I'm going to continue reading this. It said I would need to identify, I will need to identify the actual offenses of the officer involved, as well as do verbal interview before I would be able to get an IA number. Clark said Sergeant Neville also assured her that the officers did not do anything wrong. I'm going to stop you right there. And ladies and gentlemen, forgive me when I'm about to say this. Well, what the hell you mean officers didn't do nothing wrong? The officers did do something wrong. Pointed a gun at a 6-year-old autistic boy. Luckily, they didn't pull the trigger. What if they pull the trigger on that 6-year-old boy, killing him? And then the mother will probably file a lawsuit against the Raleigh Police Department because of this. Now, what if it's the other way around, right? I'm going to picture you guys this so even trolls will even get that in their freaking thick skull. What if police officer break into a white couple's house, pointed their 6-year-old son, white son, who are autistic and who has cerebral palsy, into their face? I guarantee you that wouldn't happen because it would be lawsuits against the department and they're going to pay almost millions of dollars out of the taxpayers' money for their family for doing that. So they know they're not going to do it to a white couple, white family. And so this story right here is sickens to my stomach, and I'm gonna wait until more from reaction of of this. And here we go. And this she's continued to say is after telling the story, Clark called out city council. She said a lack of action from the council members had given Raleigh police officers a free pass to demonize black citizens. What will city council do to begin the process of police accountability to avoid travesty like my family's? Clark challenged near the end of her time. Raleigh officers had a warrant to search Clark's family house that night in November. Our news gathering partners at the News and Observer reported. The officers were looking for Brian Clark, who was wanted in connection to an armed robbery at an AT&T store on Capitol Boulevard in October. Brian Clark, 22, is accused of using semi-automatic guns to threaten people in the store and then stealing $50,000 worth of cell phone and other electronics. And I'm going to continue reading. She said, LaDonna Clark said the robbery suspect is a family relative, but he was not at the house when police arrived. Her problem is with the way officers handled their investigation. Late Wednesday afternoon, Raleigh Police Chief Cassandra Deck Brown released a statement to ABC 11 about the case, said the safety and well-being of all Raleigh residents is a top priority for the Raleigh Police Department. The November 14, 2018 incident on Friar Tuck Road was precipitated by a search warrant for that address based on probable cause that evidence from a receipt armed robbery would be located there. Through investigative means, it was determined that the armed robbery suspect, Brian Lamont Clark, had indicated that he resided at this address. Mr. Clark was arrested at a later date and faces multiple felony charges to include armed robbery. And continuing saying that Deck Brown said she remained confident that the investigation, which was started on November 6th, will be thorough. Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. When will police officers be held accountable for what they do? I mean, the kid would have been killed that night. It doesn't matter if they're looking for a suspect. Like I told you before, they do this before. When SWAT teams break in looking for somebody, and they claim they had an arrest warrant for that somebody, you don't go in down there and just point a rifle at a 6-year-old child. He had cerebral palsy and he was autistic. And guess what? Like I told you earlier, what if that was a white child they do that to? I guarantee they're going to tell you they're not going to do that to no white child. That's for damn sure. So, what I'm about to do right now is I'm going to play this audio. And like I said, this is the video from the mother of the 6-year-old son that has who's autistic and who has cerebral palsy. And then I'm going to finish the rest of my commentary. And like I told you before, reaction will not, play the video, but you will hear the audio of the mother went to and tell her story about what happened to her 6-year-old son. So here it is. Okay, people, I think hold on for a second. Waiting for this video to be uploaded so you can hear the audio of the mother speaking to, the city council here. Okay, I guess the video wasn't working, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish my commentary. My point is that it's time for. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do anything to the police department at all. Even though the mother was upset about this, what's going on, and yet, yes, they was looking for the suspect, but they have no right pointing a rifle at a 6-year-old child, which didn't have anything to do with the person they was looking for. And what if hypothetically something happens to that little boy? What if automatically when they break in and then shots were fired and that little boy was killed? And then all of a sudden, well, it was a mistake. But ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we see this time and time and time again. It did the same thing to that little girl in Michigan, where the police was looking for some guy. I mean, it turns out that he went to the wrong house, killed that little girl, and then basically the grandmother who was testifying try to want accountability to the officer that did it, and he was released because of the judge, and that was in Michigan. So tell me what you think about this. Share this story. Subscribe my YouTube channel. Subscribe my reaction channel, and subscribe my Black Johnson channel for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.